adversity, bring it. The struggle, I welcome it. Snooze on life, never that. I am Dave Regina, and this is the No Snooze Podcast. Come on. Welcome back, No Snooze Podcast, episode 185. As always, I'm in the booth with a new three. We have Jake, the big nutrition, Zemer.
Morning.
Claudio, the voice, Valenzuela. And I am Dave, the body, Regina. Jake Zemer is a performance coach who has spent over 20 years refining his approach to fitness, holds over a dozen certifications in both exercise and nutrition, and has been regularly featured in the media to share his unique methodology. Jake's message and approach to nutrition and fitness is relatable and, most importantly, sustainable. He is able to break down the steps necessary to reach a client's goal in a way that ensures long-term success. His compelling messaging draws parallels between fitness and everyday life that brings clarity to an industry flooded with gimmicks and quick fixes.
It really
Jake,
is.
welcome to the podcast, my brother.
How are you, dude?
Good, man. And just a quick shout out to Vin Maselli for connecting us. Yeah. I've been following your stuff for a long time now. I love the approach. I love the simplicity of it.
Thank you.
I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I want to start first in a very non-serious way. Mm-hmm. I saw some pictures where you had a long beard like mine.
Yes.
When did you shave it and why?
How can I say this? It's impressive when you can grow a beard like yours.
Okay.
It's impressive, not going to sound humble at all, but you can grow a beard like mine.
Yep.
But the reality is as I've gotten leaner, I've just increasingly brought down the beard. I love the beard, and I think it's something that very few people can grow, so you should show it off. But I decided, let's go for a little bit more softer of a look as I continue, because I can be very serious.
Yep.
And you know this, when you're a big guy and you're serious, people are intimidated by you.
Yes.
So just to make me more approachable, I kind of brought the beard down a little bit. I still love the Viking beard. I definitely appreciate it, but I work on smiling more and more often. So I didn't come from a lot of money, and I came with bad teeth. So I got these fixed later in life. So I always work on smile. So, and when you come up to me, I'm approachable, but you would not feel that way if you looked across at your room, and the beard only amplifies that.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Where are you from, man? Let's take it back to the beginning.
Yep.
And also with that story of where you're from, a lot of people look at you now, and even me personally, I look at you, I see you on Instagram, you're very locked in,
Thank you.
which really gravitated me towards you early on.
Thank you.
I love the approach, like I said previously, but was there ever a time in your life that you weren't the Jake Zemer that we see today?
Yeah. I grew up in Portville, New York, population 959 people.
Where is that?
That is by a town called Olean, New York, still small, that is an hour and a half south of Buffalo.
Buffalo, okay.
So it's really like the Midwest. It's very similar like Ohio and Pennsylvania. Matter of fact, it's 15 minutes from Pennsylvania. So it is small town America. There is one stoplight in Portville, New York.
Wow.
Yeah, one stoplight. The post office used to be closed on the first day of deer hunting. I'm not kidding you. There's one person that worked at the post office. Very, very, very small town America. I was one of 5 kids. My mom and my dad, they only had me. Not married, went their separate ways. My mom was 15 years old when she became pregnant with me. My dad was an alcoholic and did not have much interest in me. So all that was like a tough start, but I was locked in. I had a mom who was just very determined that my life was going to be different than me. And I was extremely locked in for the first 20 something years of my life. I was the first. I started community college at 16 years old. I was still going to school, but I took my first class was actually public speaking, which I think is kind of served me well now.
Yep.
And I was taking community college classes in the evening. I was working out. I had really some issues with self-esteem. I was ADD, those sort of things. Struggled to read at first when I was younger. Very mild dyslexia, but that coupled with ADD and not a lot of money. So meaning not a lot of support.
Right.
So I had some self-esteem things, and I started going to the YMCA. And I remember going to the gym and seeing all the guys there. And I was like, I want to look like that. And so I started working out, and that kind of brought me to life. So I was very dialed in. And then after college, I couldn't figure out my career. I got my degree. I went on and got an MBA in finance. I was determined that I was going to work in finance. I was going to make money. I was going to have a cool car. I was going to be jacked. And my girlfriend broke up with me, who I was like in love with. And that's plus not being able to figure out my career. It just shot me. For the first time, I had no momentum in my life. And I really struggled for like 5 years to figure out my life. Because I was so deathly afraid that if I became a trainer, I was going to be broke. And I didn't want to do it. Even though I had a deep passion for fitness and incredible knowledge, I was the guy who people were always asking questions about. And I ended up, really actually turned it around for me is I ended up going one day to the animal shelter and I found my dog. And I saw this dog and he was like, clearly just needed help. I needed help. And I got this dog and I brought him home. And the first day I was home with him, there was a thunderstorm and he came, we were playing all day. He came and ran and jumped in my arms.
Oh man.
And I was like, damn. I was like, all right, I got to take care of this guy because I do not want him ending back to the shelter because I can't provide for us. So I started working at Equinox. And what I was exactly afraid of coming true was I was going to be a broke trainer. I was. I was living in Westchester, making no money. I was living in a rough part of Yonkers. I was living on a tree street. So one of the streets named after a tree, which is a rough area. And I started working there and I climbed my way up. And in 2 years, I was, in the top, 100 of the company. And I was number one at the club. And then I left, went to a boutique studio, started crushing. COVID happened and I decided to get on social media. Social media grew and blew up. And now I have, 4 full-time employees. The business, we have multiple revenue streams and we help people every day. No matter if there's tough days, there's long days, there's short days too. There's fun days. I'm a business owner now.
Of course.
So sometimes it's fun, but we help so many people, dude. I mean, I look at some of these before and after pictures that I get for clients and it's wild. And, but that is a time in my life where really I did not have it together and I really kind of fell off.
Listen, man, you're very seasoned in this game here. You being able to tell your story the way you just told it that quickly too, man.
Thank you.
And you're so passionate about what it is that you do. I see, you got a little emotional, especially with the dog.
Oh my God, that dog saved my life, dude.
Oh, dude, and people just,
And that girl who broke up with me, we actually are back together now.
Oh wow,
we have a house, we have our life back together.
Oh man,
which is just cadence more to say, just again, like if you get back in there and you find yourself, she actually gave me the best advice anybody did when we broke up. She said, Jake, just focus on yourself, and what a powerful thing that is. If you really can just center and you become the person that you want to become, and not to sound, but I am who I've always wanted to be now. Right. I look the way I look. I have the career, the income, the life that I always wanted. And I do it again by helping people every day.
And you deserve it, man. So
thank you, bro.
I'm very happy for you.
Thank you, brother.
And there's a lot of similarities, man. My mom, she was an alcoholic growing up, so it was reversed. So that actually put me, and she's been sober now 5+ years.
Great.
I shout her out every episode.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's my hero now and my best friend.
That's awesome.
So I understand the the severity of the disease and what it does to families as well.
Brutal, dude.
And then also it was YMCA for you. It was the Boys and Girls Club in Mount Vernon for me. Yeah. So there's a lot of similarities here.
Awesome.
And even now, we spoke a little bit off air about my full-time career and what I do in the community.
Yeah.
So I'm very tied to the community, man. All right. So let's get right into it in terms of nutrition, right?
Yeah. You've seen real quick though.
Yes,
You've seen that change in the community in the gym, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It used to be such a subculture.
Yes.
And now everybody is involved in fitness.
And you know what's even cooler too, and when you're talking about, alcoholism, drug abuse, all that. So I stopped drinking actually at the beginning of this year.
Great.
Just for my own,
I get it.
I didn't have a problem per se, but I was drinking, I think, a little bit more than what I wanted to. I'm a father first and foremost. I have she'll be 4 years. She'll be 4 in June. And she's my life. I've gone through a separation the past 2 years. In a very healthy relationship now. I have a great relationship with my ex as well. So that stuff is good. But the thing that was needed was for me to stop drinking. And I say that because just like the gym culture, it's more accepted and anybody can walk in the gym and, we highly encourage you to take care of yourself.
Yes.
It's the same actually in drinking. It used to be you used to be a weirdo if you didn't.
I agree.
If you didn't drink.
I actually said the other day, I think in 10 to 15 years, and I'm not being heavy-handed.
Yep.
I drink very rarely.
Mm-hmm.
Probably over the last couple of years, I used to drink maybe 5 drinks a week of like tequila, and that's probably in the last 2 years shifted to almost not at all. Last year I had 14 drinks, including a trip to Italy. But I do think in the next, and I'm not trying to be heavy-handed, I work with clients all the time to drink. I have limits for them depending on the individual.
Yep.
You know, a lot of times we'll try to tell guys less than 10 drinks a week, things like that. But again, not to be heavy-handed, I think in the next 10 to 15 years, it will be viewed the same way as we view tanning beds, the same way as we view smoking. And you could say, Jake, you're crazy. Look, I used to tan when I was in college. I used to go into a tanning bed. Those tanning beds have all shut down by now. In my lifetime, when I was a kid, I used to go pick up a pack of cigarettes from my grandmother. She used to give me money and say, go run to the convenience store and grab, what did she used to smoke? The Parliament.
My grandmother smoked Pall Malls. Anybody know what that is? Yeah.
So I used to go, in my lifetime, those two things have
Everything
changed.
right.
The same thing's going to change with alcohol. And the next, by the end of the next 10 to 15 years, this generation is already, they see alcohol completely different. The next generation will be completely like alcohol's a waste of time.
It's a good perception, and I actually agree with it. All right. Do I need to track my calories, right? This is something, and again, not for me specifically, but let's talk to the listeners. The purpose of this podcast is obviously to provide value. I think there's no better time than right now for people trying to plan their summer bodies, get back on track.
Great,
it's a very cool thing, not only health-wise, but also socially, to get in the gym, to be in shape. There's so many benefits outside the gym that come with having a physically fit body. I think your mind gets stronger as your body gets stronger. So give us some tips, I guess, and let's talk about tracking the calories and if it's necessary.
Yeah, so I think the first thing is, and really sincerely, in this day and age, obviously all the health benefits, all the mental benefits, but also too, the biggest flex there is how you're in shape. There's a reason guys like Jeff Bezos and all these guys are working out these days. And the reality is if you need to track calories, it just depends, where are you now? If you're struggling now, if you don't like what you see in the mirror, if you don't like how you feel, then you need to make a change. Then you need to learn the language of nutrition. And if that's you definitely need to start tracking what you're eating. And, you know, there's so easy these days with apps. You can use an app to simply track. When I have clients, they sign up for coaching. We give them calorie goals. We give them a protein goal. We give them a fiber goal. I don't have them bother to track their exact macros because it doesn't matter for body composition. We build out template diets, showing them how to hit their goals. And then we have them track every single day. So my answer to that really is, if you don't like how you feel, if you don't like how you look in the mirror, then you need to go through a process of learning. And that starts with tracking, because that's going to allow you to get a level of catharsis. You look at it and you're like, oh, that Starbucks drink I eat every day is 400 calories. Oh, that lunch I thought at Chop that I'm getting is healthy actually in a 900 calorie salad that I'm having every day. Oh, and you immediately become aware of why you're overweight. And so from there, you can start to think about, okay, how do I pivot? And then you can start to strategize. How do I hit my protein goal every day? How do I hit my fiber goal every day? And that allows you to kind of change. So I think it really depends where you are. Do I track every single day, being 100% honest with you? No.
You did at one point, though.
I did. Right. I did. And it's also because I'm a walking encyclopedia at this point. And I get clients to the point where they don't have to track anymore. But it's after they hit their goal weight, after we've had them in maintenance for a period of time, and then they understand now, and they almost have like a template diet at that point. Like they know, like, these are my 3 go-to breakfast options. These are my 3 go-to lunch options. At that point, when you have that structured like that, you don't have to track anymore. But in order to, it's like if you were saying, hey, I want to learn French, you gotta use Rosetta Stone. You gotta go hire a tutor for a little bit. And then obviously you can walk away from that because you know how to do it.
There's a couple things that I think are relatable in terms of fitness and finance. So something that I did, it was a challenge back a while ago that I created, and I basically challenged myself to save $1,000. So every time I worked out, I would track my calories that were burned and then transfer the money to my bank account. Right. So I would take it from my checking to my savings. So for example, if I burned 693 calories, I would take $6.93 and send it over. And I did it for a challenge to get to $1,000.
That's amazing.
And it was cool. It was just a fun little thing.
That's so cool.
So that's something that I think as summer's coming, if people want to challenge themselves, feel free to do that. You have a very good hack, I guess, when it came to something I was listening to. That
calories
you said.
As a budget.
Yes, calories and the budget.
So yeah, I think that's important to think about. I think a lot of people are under the myth that your calories restart at midnight. And so, you
Gotcha.
go through the day and you're like, oh, I overate, but tomorrow's a new day. Yes, it's a new day, but if you ate a huge dinner yesterday, it transfers to the next day. Your
Right.
calories don't restart at midnight. And a lot of people think about that because they're like, oh, but I eat so healthy. And maybe you do Monday through Friday, but then you eat horribly on the weekend.
Right, you
and
can't.
you go out to these 300-calorie dinners. Client sent me a picture the other night of a friend of theirs. They were having sushi. This woman ate 5 rolls, and he asked me, how many calories do you think that is? I said, let's just average 600 calories a roll, just looking at the rolls. The person ate 300 calories in a meal of sushi. Well, those 3,000 calories.
3,000.
3,000, pardon me, 600 calories a roll, 5 rolls. 3,000 calories for dinner. That rolls over to the next day. It doesn't restart at midnight. And I think you need to get into a perspective of thinking about the next week and what you're doing throughout the entire week, because a lot of times people are like, oh, I eat so healthy, but they're not factoring in that they're going out to dinner and they're eating these massive meals. We actually, when people are on the coaching program, we actually review dinner menus for them so that they're built out. And I can kind of show them, like, here's some great options for dinner. And then we vet the dinner menu for them so they start to learn how to go out to dinner and eat correctly.
Are you looking to elevate your brand with captivating visuals and immersive sound? Look no further than the home of the No Snooze podcast, Kai Visions Productions, your go-to destination for cutting-edge audio and video production. At Kai Visions, we don't just create content, we create experiences that leave a lasting impact. From podcasts, YouTube variety shows, sleek corporate videos, to attention-grabbing promotional campaigns, our team of experts is dedicated to turning your vision into reality. Choose Kai Visions for a production experience like no other. It's time to make your brand known. Contact us today at kaivisions@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at Kai Visions. Kai Visions Productions, where audio-visual excellence meets innovation. Now, back to the epi. The Trinity of fat loss. It's one of your... I love simple stuff.
Yeah.
I used to have a problem, even with like podcasting. I would take these grandiose ideas, and then I'd be like rambling through 87 steps that you need to follow.
Yeah.
The Trinity of fat loss is 3 things.
3 very simple
School
things.
us, please.
The first is going back to that tracking of calories. Like, you need to know how much you're eating a day, and you need to understand that these days roll over. So if you are in a deficit of calories, for example, 500 a day, right, for 7 days, that's 3,500 calories. You've lost a pound of fat. If you can be in a deficit of 1,000 calories for 7 days in a row, you've now lost 2 pounds of fat. And that's why it's important to understand that the days roll over, whether you're in a deficit or a surplus. Just like your bank account is the analogy of how those two relate. It's like finances. If you spend too much money yesterday, that money's still gone in your bank account the next morning.
Right.
And so the first is being in a caloric deficit, being in that, say, 500 calorie a day deficit. That's going to allow you to lose a pound of fat a day. And a week.
Yeah.
That 500 calories a day, which adds up to 3,500 calories. There's approximately 3,500 calories in a pound of fat.
1 pound, correct.
The second is protein. You want to maintain protein, a protein target every day in your calories, because that's going to allow you to maintain muscle and perhaps even build muscle while going through that. And what people underestimate is, for a long time, like, the recommended protein intake for people, it used to be around 0.4 times your body weight in protein.
0.4, right?
0.4. It's way too low.
low.
It's too low. And even, by the way, even nutritionists are saying, hey, we need to reevaluate these standards, because you really need like 0.6
or even
times
more,
your body.
Right?
0.6 to even maintain musculature.
Okay.
So if you're a relatively sedentary person, you need like 0.6 times your body weight in protein. If you are someone who's active, it's closer to 0.8.
So I just want to break that down for people. So now talk to me about somebody who needs to lose weight. If you're like 300 plus pounds, right? Male, female, doesn't matter.
Let's say even you're 200 pounds.
Whatever it is. But you're now not consuming the amount of protein that your body needs. Are you like almost essentially doubling the negative effects of like a bad diet here?
So here's what you need to think about. There's not just weight, but there's also body composition, like muscle. So what do you weigh?
235.
You're 235. I weigh basically the same. You and I are not a normal 235-pound person. If you looked at the population and you said, hey, here's guys who are 235 pounds, you and I are not reflective of that, because we have a lot more muscle and a lot less fat. You could be most 235-pound people are obese.
Right.
So the protein is allowing you to maintain a healthy body composition.
Yeah.
So the Trinity is really caloric deficit, protein, and weight training. We know that those are the most effective things that you can do for not only dropping body fat, but also building muscle. So not just dropping weight, but actually changing your body's composition. And that's what most people really want. Like most people, they don't just want to lose weight. They also want to build muscle.
Right.
And so understanding that the way you're going to be 235 and have shoulders like you do, or the way you're going to be 235 and have a waist like I do, is by being in a caloric deficit, by hitting your protein goal, which again, modestly, it's 0.6. For most people, it's somewhere between 0.8 and even you could have even a gram of protein or more per pound if you're really looking to maintain your muscle while being in a caloric deficit. And then weight training. And at a very baseline level, everybody should be weight training at least an hour and a half a week, twice a week. I weight train 5 to 6 times a week, somewhere around 6 to 8 hours, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think and now even again in the fitness world, like it used to be don't weight train to lose fat,
So
like
silly.
just do cardio.
So silly.
That's not the way.
So
Because you will
silly.
burn so many more calories. And also now when you're
Build
eating
muscle.
that protein, you're gonna remain full longer, right?
Yes, it's satiating for multiple reasons. But even what you said about why cardio versus weight training, the thing you need to think
And
about.
I do both. Just
I do
yeah,
both
yeah.
too. We'll talk. I think
Yep,
we're going to
yeah,
talk
so
about
absolutely,
zone 2.
absolutely.
So, and I do both too. Even yesterday, I did both. I weight trained and I did cardio. But the thing is that when you're talking about just purely body aesthetics,
Right.
you are better, not just health, but aesthetics, you are better off weight training. And the reason is that you think about it, body fat is a percentile. And so that's your total amount of fat. And then the denominator is your total weight. And if you could increase your weight without increasing your body fat percentile goes down. Well, how do you do that? By putting on muscle. That's the only way you can increase your total weight without increasing your body fat, is to add more muscle. And so that's why it helps with body composition so much, because if you increase your muscle mass, you also lower your body fat percentile. And if you lower your body fat, you also obviously decrease your body fat percentile.
So my diet is very high in protein. Well, I mean, not very high compared to bodybuilders, but I'm at like 230 to 250 grams a day.
But that's what you
which
should
is,
be
I
at.
need to be there.
You should
but
be.
Also
you should be
because
around
of-
200 to like that. And by the way,
250.
more is more. More is not bad.
Right.
But your minimum should really be 200, 0.8 times your body weight.
But I have to be too because of the Crohn's disease. So what affects me, ironically, the doctors that I was telling you about upstairs, they told me I got to stay away from red meat.
Yeah.
Do you know that I eat more red meat than anybody that I know? I just got a colonoscopy done a year ago, and they can't even detect that I still have the Crohn's, which is incredible. But what I've really had to change, and this is going to probably shock you, is I've had to basically be at minimal carbs.
Yeah.
Every time I eat carbs, I get this bloated feeling because of the Crohn's disease and what's going on internally. So I'm at less than like 80 grams of carbs for the day.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that now for 15 years.
Yeah. I think people all the time villainize red meats. And what people need to understand is that it is important, as far as the literature goes, to watch total saturated fat intake.
Yes.
But that beef can actually be leaner than
And
poultry.
very clean, right?
Yeah. So it depends on the cuts you're having. And
100%.
having extremely high saturated fat is probably going to cause a problem with Crohn's disease, right? But the reality is that you can eat beef and it still be lean.
Right.
And really, you do need some saturated fat for hormone balance. Really, about 10% of your calories a day should be coming from saturated fat.
10%.
10% of your calories.
Good number. Speaking of percentage, and you gave yourself a great nickname, the Walking Encyclopedia. I should have came up with that one. You said upstairs that, and this was shocking to me, that only 3% of people successfully follow through with a diet.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that, and then how that number increases with a coach like yourself.
Yeah. So it increases for a couple of reasons, but the 3%, I
That's
think,
terribly low. I mean, that's ridiculous.
because you have to understand that any sort of addiction, and I don't think food is like an addiction as a physiological, but it definitely is a psychological addiction. Any sort of habit change, if you want to use a looser word than addiction, any sort of habit change is difficult. But when it's constantly around you, it gets way worse. If you think about people you've known an alcoholic. How hard is it to break alcoholism? It's worse. It's worse than a cocaine addiction. It's worse because, one, there's physiological reasons for that, which is not, it's not included with food. But because it's constantly around you. You can go to a bar down the street. I mean, if you want to go find cocaine, you have to go look for cocaine or go associate with the old people you used to associate with.
Yep.
That's not the case with alcohol. It's all over the place.
Gas stations, anywhere.
Anywhere. It's anywhere. It's readily available. So it's brutal. And when it comes to food, it may not be physiologically addictive. Whatever anybody says, it's not. Heroin, alcohol, those are physiologically addictive. This is not physiologically addictive. However, it is a situation where it's constantly around you. And the other thing is, and this is a sad reality, is if you're, say, 50 pounds overweight, so what if you lose 5 pounds? So what if you lose 10 pounds? Nobody's coming up to you right away and saying, congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
People come up to me all the time and say, Jake, you look incredible. Like when I'm in the locker room at Lifetime, people are like, dude, you look awesome. People are probably telling you, dude, you probably make comments when you're at the gas station, dude, you look jacked. But the reality is that when you're trying to lose weight, you're going to have to lose those 20 or 30 pounds before people in your life start noticing. You're going to have to make big changes. And so there's no immediate gratification, but there is immediate gratification with Haagen-Dazs. There is immediate gratification with going to like a Jewish deli and getting a bagel. And so it's brutal because one, it's all around you. And two, there's not immediate gratification. But it takes time to change your body. It's going to take you, 3 weeks, you might start feeling better, but 3 months, 6 months before you start to really look different. And even when you lose the fat, to really get muscular, it takes time. So how do you bring up that success rate? A support system. And that support system can be as simple as doing it with your best friend, or it can be as complex as hiring somebody like me, like a coach. And the normal success rate on a diet, when you add in a friend, is 20%. We have a 60% success rate with coaching.
So from 3% is the standard. With Jake Zemer, you're up at 60.
At 60. And the reason is because you're getting a platform that's been built out. We're checking in every day, and there's obvious, like, clearly just knowledge, which is walking you through, like, do this, do that. And that's all the way across the board, from the diet to, we put the training program on the app. It has videos of me demonstrating. I'm asking you to send videos of your form so I can critique and things like that, to even advisement around, like, I do not pretend to be a doctor on social media, but things like, hey, did you get your labs done? Okay, your vitamin D is deficient. Let's fix it. Okay, have you talked to your doctor? Your testosterone's low. Let's get your body fat down. Oh, it's still low. Let's get on TRT. Let's check your magnesium. How's your magnesium? Let's raise your triglycerides. Let's put you on omega-3. So it's all the knowledge around those other things that you need to do in order to really be optimal. And I think too many people get focused on optimal. I think the real key for people is your BMI in the right place? Your body fat in the right place? Are you active, right? Are you hitting your protein goal? Those sort of things, and really forcing people to do this. The more depressing statistic, though, is even the 3% that succeed. Of those 3%, 80% of people regain it. Because they're doing crazy stuff to lose the weight in the first place.
And right, so this is what we were saying upstairs, and they're not enjoying it, right? You have to find something that you enjoy. And a mutual friend of ours, Pat Damiano, shout out to Pat. He preaches that all day long. He's like, it doesn't matter what you do, but you do have to enjoy it. Because even 3 weeks, right? You were talking about that 3 week span of like seeing results. If you're doing something for 3 weeks and you absolutely hate it, you're going to quit.
Yes.
Most likely.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the other thing that I think is why I said, like, people get very fixated on optimizing these days. Like, Pat has a great spew that he does all the time where he talks about, can you build muscle from kettlebells and from what does he call it? Unorthodox lifts. He might call it something different, but it's unorthodox lifts.
By the way.
Yeah.
I'm doing his Belpex program right now. Pat.
Great.
Terrible. I mean, it's great. It's great, but I am drenched, dude. Yeah. Drenched.
So those lifts, right? He talks about all the time. You can get muscular from them. Are those optimal to build muscle? No, we all know that. The standard bench press and the squat are
these are more functional movements.
More functional movements. And I don't mean that as a put down to what Pat's doing. What I say to you is this: is that if you're not doing anything right now, if you go swing a kettlebell, you're going to build muscle, right? And like people get so focused on what's optimal instead of realizing, like, go do what you enjoy. If you don't enjoy lifting weights, then go get into swinging kettlebells. Go take a kettlebell class. If you don't enjoy doing kettlebells, start doing spin class. If you don't like spin class, try running. Go to Zumba. Do something. And I think you have to view it almost like you're dating. It's like if you go on a date and you're like, oh, it was a terrible date. Okay, well, do you for the rest of your life now, are you never going to go meet someone? Okay, you have to go on another date.
The sad part, though, now that I'm thinking about that, is some people do that.
They do that.
They really do that. And
With
then
fitness.
They isolate themselves. But even with dating,
Yes.
they'll isolate themselves and then they go down that
100%.
negative rabbit hole. It's sad, actually.
It's sad, but it happens in fitness as well. People will try a couple things and be like, I don't like exercising. Look, you got to put yourself out there.
Right.
You got to go find what actually works for you. And that's the other reason why 80% of the people regain the weight is because they don't enjoy what they're doing. And as a result, they don't have a social network. And as a result, they fail. It's very similar. It's very similar to what we're even talking about, like alcoholism. Like you have to, the person has to have people around them rooted in them. They have to create a new community and they have to find something that's going to distract them away from it.
And again, this is something, you know, hear it all the time, but even in my own life, right? There's plenty of days that I wake up and I'm in my head and I'm negative, but I habit stack and I do it every single day that I don't want to do it regardless. And what that does is it builds confidence, right? My 4-year-old daughter and I, we make our bed every day. I say, making our bed is what? She says, healthy habits. I drink my water every single morning. I put Joel Osteen in my ear because I'm a man of faith. I'm trying to do all these things to build my confidence. And then when I hit the gym, now it's just another habit stacking too, and I'm just continuously trying to do that. And then it's funny because then by my ride to work, I'm like, I'm in a really good mood today. You know, so you can change and you can shift the energy from when you wake up negative, but you have to do it.
It's what I say all the time, that structure is more important than discipline. And so that structure, you might have to have a discipline to build the structure initially, but once you have a structure, once you have a routine, it's far easier. Like, oh, I have my protein bars in the back of my car. Okay. Oh, we get these from Instacart every week. I have my raspberries already there. I have my Greek yogurt already there. Okay. My meal prep arrived. It's in this refrigerator in the garage. I have a system in place that I can just follow, because there are always moments in time where you don't feel like working out, or you don't feel like, but it's on my calendar. And so I go do it. I go do it like any other thing. It's a rainy day today. Right. I got in my car. I drove over here to Stamford. It's on my schedule. I go and do it. And the reality is for somebody like me who grew up in a situation I did, you know, there's always going to be, you know, and again, you say people look at me, but there's always going to be a little sadness. There's always going to be a little of negativity, of looking at the glasses half empty. And I really have to work with my mind to be like, Jake, you're beyond like 1% of the population. Like you, especially if you look globally at the world, you are so incredibly fortunate. And I tell people this all the time. I even saw someone the other day. He was working at a car dealership, and I was going to get another car, not to replace the car, not to be like, I'm getting another car.
Don't get me started.
I know,
I'm going to mix right now. I need your opinion.
It's crazy. It's crazy right now. That's why I'm like waiting it out the game. I'm playing the game of like, okay, are these rates going to drop? When are you going to start offering me incentives for a car again? But he worked there, and he was kind of complaining about his life. And I was like, dude, you're working in the finance department at a luxury car dealership. I was like, you're good, dude. You're good. Like, I'm not telling you not to aspire for more, and I think that's the thing to really, even with weight loss or any of these things, it's psychological element is so important to keep somebody's head in it, to keep their headspace correct, because you're only going to lose a pound or two a week. And if you're 300 pounds, like I said, you're going to have to work hard for, 3 weeks to lose 6 pounds. You're going to have to work hard for a month to lose 10 pounds, to lose 50 pounds. If you could do it in 5 months, but you're going to have to work. And if you're a woman, it's going to be slower. It's going to be 5 months for 25 pounds. And it's very easy to let the negativity creep in, which is why you need a structure, which is why the biggest part of my job, regardless, all those certifications, all that education and everything I do, is holding people accountable. It's having them do things when they don't like it. When people sign up and they have a session with me, they know if they don't show up, they're going to get charged. Show up. You're booked at 6 o'clock. Show up. You're booked at 7 o'clock. Show up. You're a coaching client. You are getting pushed daily to keep moving it forward, even when you don't feel like it. So it's that support that kind of uplifts people. You no longer need that support. I no longer need that support, but it's also because we have a structure in place, and it takes help a lot of times for a lot of people to get that structure in place.
Absolutely. I love that, man. I haven't heard that structure is arguably more important than discipline.
It is.
Really? Wow.
It is.
No, and I love it. And even when I look at my life, that's absolutely
the truth, right?
That's absolutely
you have
true.
that routine.
Yeah. But I will say, even at the level that you're at, that I'm at, people might see it physically. But again, I want to be clear that there's always days where you're feeling negative, and Jake is saying the exact same thing, and that's very important. It doesn't just go away. And then also, I think we're involved in the things that we're involved in as a level of accountability to us.
Yeah.
Building these communities that we build, whether it's No Snooze, whether it's your companies that you're doing, whether it's the men's retreats that I'm doing.
Yep.
Seeing these guys around me and working with the clients that you work in have to give you a level of accountability as well, right?
Yes.
It never stops.
The other important part of it as well is, for me, like we had our Instagram. Our Instagram got shut down in October, and it got shut down for 2 weeks. And it was from a crazy thing. They said that we were pretending to be somebody we weren't. What ended up happening is we did a collab post with a doctor. The doctor wasn't verified, so they couldn't tell that the doctor was a real doctor. We ended up getting it back up. Everybody around me was like, Jake, are you okay? I operate in a level when something like that happens where I'm just like, we're fine. We're going to get it done. And I knew I'd get it back up, but I had to go meet with some people from company. I had to meet,
Wow.
Let me just be really straightforward. I had to meet with Meta execs. I had to really work to get this thing back up. There's a strong chance we got it back up. And everybody around me was like, is Jake okay? Is Jake okay? Everybody thought I was falling apart. I was perfectly fine. I kept my headspace very, very strong because I knew I needed to at that moment. But there are days where, dude, I don't always have it. Some days I don't feel like, I won't say I won't feel like getting up, but there are days that there's a certain like hollow feeling, or I don't feel like squatting. And for me, the way I combat that is the same thing I did with the Meta. I push through, and even with I always say to myself, like when I'm working out, I'm squatting and things like that. I'm like, you have too nice of a life. You've got to push yourself. Right.
It's not that hard. But you know what? So I get identified and labeled as a robot, if you will.
Yeah.
I'm sure you hear this too.
Yeah.
But it's like, I have to be that way, because if I'm not, then I'm just going to become like that plastic bag in the wind that's just kind of coasting through life.
Yeah.
Like I, come from a family where there is addiction heavily in it. So I'm addicted, fortunately, to discipline, to structure, to accountability. And I've chosen every day to find a way. It's not hard to make progress every day. It's not hard in one aspect, right? I'm a father. I'm a businessman. I'm a man of faith. There's in those three things, me just spending 5 minutes with my daughter, I just got better as a father today. Me working out for an hour, I just got better. It's not hard to make progress every day. And again, just because you have a bad moment doesn't mean that you have to have a bad day. And just because you have a bad day doesn't mean that you have a bad month and a bad life.
Yes. Well, I think that's the key, though, you're saying, is consistency. And I think that's really what's necessary. And that's why having that structure and just following that, almost like that's your rope that's guiding you through the dark.
Yes.
Like, I know I do this. I always tell people, there's this old aphorism, does thought beget action or action beget thought? And my answer to that is action.
Wait, say that again.
Does thought beget action or action beget thought? So if you're feeling sad, do you therefore stay in bed? Or by staying in bed, do you feel sad? Right? And you have the same answer I would, which is because you stayed in bed, you felt sad.
Absolutely.
Your answer to that is action. And I really do think that's the answer for people who want to change their life. The answer is action. Go, if you've been putting off getting that annual physical, just pick up the phone and call. If you have a problem with someone in your life, pick up the phone and call. If you're struggling to lose weight, go hire someone. If you're struggling to make money, just go apply for the job, even if you think the job's underneath you. Listen, when I was sitting there living in Yonkers and I had a dog and I barely had any money in the bank, I had I think $4,000 in the bank. I went and applied at Equinox, and now I have a 4,000 square foot house on 1.25 acres in Westchester. You know what I mean? Like, things change.
But you got to take action.
You got to take action. You got to step.
So you'll love the name of I told you about the summits that we do in the personal professional development that we're doing. It's actually called ACE. Action cultivates excellence.
Yeah. The truth.
It plays right into it.
It's
if there's one word to control everything, it's not structure, it's not discipline, it's not progress, it's action.
It's action. And the best thing I think you can put your steps forward is creating a structure like you're doing with your daughter and things like that, is to have that structure in place. Like, I have just my routine, and I follow my routine with working out. I follow my routine, which every day I get home, I take my dog, we go to the park for an hour. Every day we do it. And that for me is just something I do every day. And I have those things that I do every day. I eat, I get, my my 4 meals with 50 grams of protein
Yep.
every single
Every
day.
day.
You know,
I get it.
Structure, I think, is the most important thing to do.
Absolutely. Let's talk. And again, summertime, fine, man. This is a good time to be recording this podcast. Explain what zone 2 cardio is and why it's so important for fat loss.
Sure. So it's not so much important for fat loss. When you look at fat loss, it's really that caloric deficit, it's really that protein, and it's really weight training. But zone 2 is incredibly important for your health. And you got to be alive to play the game. All right. So, some people look at like, oh, fat loss. No, listen, you've got to be healthy. And so for people to be healthy, you want to be doing zone 2 cardio where your heart rate is getting into about 110 to 130 beats per minute for most people. And you want to do the easiest way to do that. You can get on an incline, on a slight incline on a treadmill, and you walk a fast pace, use some sort of watch as a trackable, and keep your heart rate there. And you want to do that. I know it sounds extreme, but you want to do that for about 150 minutes a week of zone 2.
150 minutes a week. So what is that daily?
30 minutes 4 times a week.
Oh, that's not bad.
So even if you want to break it down to something like daily, it's like 20 minutes daily.
That's not bad at all.
And you can do that at the end of your workout.
Right.
Weight train,
Yep.
do your 50, 40 minutes of weight training, an hour of weight training, and with 20 minutes of cardio.
So dissect me real quick. I wanted to get better at running.
Mm-hmm.
We're big dudes.
Yeah.
So like when I'm running
Are you
on
a good
this
runner?
treadmill, good runner. I'm atrocious. It's terrible. My arms are like, yeah, dude. And honestly, the way that I hit that treadmill, like somebody was looking at me and they came over. I was sprinting on one of Pat's programs. They're like, dude, that's like a horse galloping right now.
They're like, they come up and they go, treadmill, are you okay?
Yeah, literally. And the thing's shaking. So every day though, for about 120 days now. So this is before the new year. I started running 1 mile on just 6.0.
Yep.
But when I'm done, my heart rate is at 140 to 150.
Yeah, so you're in zone 4.
And then I'm lifting after it.
Yep.
But when I show you pictures, the only thing that I've changed in my training regimen is adding that 1 mile and stop drinking.
Yeah.
And now I'm working with Pat. But like I'll show you a picture before and after. I mean, my core, you can see. I've always had 2 great abs, man. Yeah. Sometimes 4. Yeah. But never 5 and 6. Now I'm creeping into the 5 and 6 area, so I'm excited about it. But is that too high of a heart rate or no?
So it's not too high of a heart rate. Here's the thing. You could do 150 minutes of zone 2 cardio, or you could do 75 minutes of intense cardio, which is like zone 3 or zone 4. And it's less time. But zone 4 is great for your resting heart rate. It helps lower it, and it's very obtainable for most people. And the other factor is that it's not going to fatigue you for the rest of your work training. Right. So for you probably are not concerned about getting too much more muscular.
No.
Most people are concerned about that. So zone 4 is very easy for you to do. It's very accomplishable, and it's not going to fatigue you for training. Where the reality is when you get your heart rate up to like that 140 and you run, that is going to make it more difficult to go do something like squatting afterwards or any of the stuff.
But I will say it's been I constantly, again, try to find like these mental challenges to overcome them, and then that gives me confidence. So literally I absolutely hate stretching as my warm-up because I do a dynamic stretch. I gotta open up these hips, boy. They're tight. And this lower back is crazy tight. So I despise doing that. So I do that every day, and then I run that mile.
Great.
And then I'm getting into my training. But like I'm doing every single day, I start and I'm like, all right, how can I come up with an excuse to not do this?
It really is a mental game. But that's going back to what you said, like people who don't like certain things and things, or you don't like running, you are a cyborg at this point. You weren't born a cyborg. You've turned yourself into it. You've got addicted to discipline, which is the thing when people look at you and say, oh, you're a robot or I'm a robot. Yeah. I was not a robot. I was some ADD kid who had a single parent growing up with no money.
Odds stacked against you.
And then I just
created it.
Kept taking one foot in front of the other, taking action and doing it. So you're able to go do those things now. But for most people, that's why I think zone 2 is so important. I do some zone 4 as well, which is what you're doing.
Are you running?
I don't run, but the major reason is that I deeply love weight training. I don't even need to do lower body anymore at the level I do. I really think that if you said to me, am I trying to build any more muscle? Maybe a little bit more of my calves. They're growing slowly, but the rest of me, I'm pretty good at, but I love lower body training. So for me to keep my hips nice and loose and I really want to be able to hit the lifts heavy and hard. I really don't run, but I'll do air dime or I'll do the ski erg and I'll get my heart rate really zooming up there. Yeah. In the same degree, like that 140 zone 2 or zone 4 for me.
Let's go to supplement game. All right. So again, for people who either are trying to lose weight, get
Yep.
in shape now, or people who are in shape but
Yep.
just don't supplement.
Yep.
What are the go-to supplements that, regardless if you look like you
Yep.
or you look like someone that, I don't know, the complete opposite,
Yep.
male or female, what is our go-tos and why?
So right at the very beginning, health-wise, for health supplements, 70% of the population is deficient in vitamin D. The easiest way to become aware of that is to get your labs done. So if you're deficient in vitamin D, you should definitely be taking it. Vitamin D is a precursor for hormones. It almost acts like a steroid. So it has the propensity, the say precursor for your hormones. You definitely want to be taking vitamin D if you're deficient in it. I take 10,000 IUs a day. I'm not telling you to go take 10,000 IUs a day, but I am telling you, you probably need to supplement with it. And the way to be sure is to get your labs done. But for most people, supplement with vitamin D. Omega-3s, fish oil.
For sure.
People do not get enough fish oil. It's incredibly good for heart health. When you look at fish oil just by itself, it is a positive correlation with vitality, meaning the opposite of mortality rate. It will help you live a longer life. DHA and EPA are the two forms of omega-3s that are found in fish oil. It will help with triglycerides. It helps with cholesterol. The leading cause of death in the United States of America is heart disease. So most people should be taking omega-3s. Magnesium. Magnesium, getting 400 milligrams of magnesium a day decreases your risk for pancreatic cancer by 25%. If you know anything about pancreatic cancer, you get pancreatic cancer, you die.
Silent killer.
Yeah, just it's over. Very few people come back from it. Most people are dead within 6 months when they're diagnosed. So it reduces your chance of pancreatic cancer by 25% and a little over 10% for all forms of cancer, meaning all forms of cancer across the board by taking magnesium. I take 500 milligrams. I'm sorry, I take 700 milligrams of magnesium a day, but I also do that because I sweat a lot and I'm more active. Again, you can get these measured by taking your labs, but most people should be supplementing with magnesium. Those are the three really health supplements that I think everybody should be taking. Performance supplements, just talking about ones that you can go on Amazon and buy. Creatine. Most people should be taking creatine. Monohydrate is extremely effective. You do not need to take anything additional. There's all these other forms out there. They just cost more money. They're not any more effective. You should be taking it consistently every day. Most women should be taking 3 grams. Most men should be taking 5 grams. I take 8 grams. Someone of your size should be taking 8 grams of creatine a day. You want to get over to the stuff that's a little bit more controversial. DHEA. Should get your labs done, but most people men should be taking DHEA. I take 25 milligrams every other day. That's an OTC, meaning over the counter. You can go on Amazon and get it here in the States, but in Canada, New Zealand, Australia, it's a banned supplement because it's a hormone. I also personally take TRT. I had my labs done. I made the jump in my mid 30s. I take 200 milligrams of TRT a week. If you are low in hormones as you start to age, you want to either think about making sure that you're doing something to maintain your hormones or some form of supplementation or therapy like I'm doing. You want to make sure that you're still maintaining like 700 nanograms over deciliter. I keep my levels at 900 all the time. It's very important for bone health. It's very important for your prostate. It's very important for just muscle. It's important for mood. It's important for energy, sleep, like sex drive. I could go on and on. I also take 500 milligrams of metformin. Metformin is a medication that was originally used for type 2 diabetics, but we found that it has incredible protective factors for your liver. It has incredible protective factors for your AC1. It also has fat loss properties. These are all prescribed medically by a doctor. I don't touch anything that is not medically prescribed. I take minoxidil for my hair, which helps me maintain my hair as I'm getting older. And most of you at some point will start to get that little like spot going away in the back of your head. It just happens. And minoxidil is a dirt cheap pill that helps with it. And believe it or not, minoxidil was the active ingredient in Rogaine as a foam, but we found that taking it orally is more beneficial. I take a topical spray of finasteride for the back of my hair, which helps with my hair as well. It's a topical spray, so it only binds the receptor site. Again, if you're starting to lose the hair on the back of your head, you can prevent it. It's dirt cheap to do.
Really?
And those two supplements are extremely effective for that. And I think that's really all. You know, if you want me to give you two more that are great, I take KSM, which is the active ingredient in ashwagandha. And believe it or not, I even take that while being on TRT because it helps with sleep and it helps suppress cortisol. And then I take rhodiola because there's just so many beneficial effects to those two roots. So those are two roots that I take for just health and benefit. I know. Crazy.
Wow.
Crazy.
No, dude, seriously. So I'm actually excited to go back when I re-listen to this and write this down because I can Claudio too, right? Ironically, out of those big three in the beginning,
Yep.
they're not even in your daily multivitamin.
They're not. Don't think
and
that.
that's
Don't
what
think
people.
that.
That I
Don't think
think
that. Great
is
point.
huge.
Great point.
To understand.
People all the time are like, oh, I take a multivitamin, it has fish oil. Okay, listen, it does not have 500 milligrams of EPA and DHA. It is not a sufficient amount. Oh, it has vitamin D. It does not have 10,000 IUs. Oh, it has magnesium. It does not have 400 plus milligrams of it. You still need to separately supplement this. People think all the time because there's an ingredient in the supplement, it's not just the ingredient, it's the amount of the ingredient. Like people are like, oh, I take AG1, I don't need fruit and vegetables. AG1 has 2,700 milligrams of antioxidants. There are 13,000 milligrams of antioxidants in a cup of blueberries. It's not just the ingredient, it's the dosage. So those three definitely need to be supplemented.
You know what Jim Quick is?
Yeah.
Blueberries, aka brainberries.
Yeah.
I mean, incredibly important.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And again, these are like easy, tangible things.
It's crazy,
I tell people
but that's a real thing.
I tell people every day, like, so I've eaten 4 to 6 eggs every day for the past, I mean, since I was 14, 20 years. I'm 34 now.
Yeah.
So for the past 20 years, I've eaten 4 to 6 eggs. I've done it all.
Yeah.
I've literally used to put them in my pocket in a Ziploc bag and go caddy on the golf course at Westchester Country Club in Harrison because I just need it. Like I was so invested.
Yeah. I love it.
So I always say for breakfast, you need to be eating eggs and blueberries.
Yeah.
For sure.
But by the way, we looked at studies where you look at 3 people, grown men, they had 3 whole eggs versus egg whites. Egg whites are not evil. People think it all the time, but 3 whole eggs versus egg whites. And the men who were eating the 3 whole eggs had higher levels of testosterone. And part of that is just simply you need saturated fat for hormones and stuff like that. My go-to is 3 whole eggs, a cup of egg whites gets me to 42 grams of protein, and then berries.
And you what, scramble them or something?
I scramble them. I just scramble them up. Or sometimes I actually put the egg whites in there with the 3 yolks. And then I just, so now I have like a giant sunny side up or over easy. And I pop it on the plate. And then when I the fork cut open the yolk, it drizzles all over the extra egg white. So either one works. But point is that's a great, it's high protein, it's high fiber. Blueberries are amazing.
Any berry, right? Any berries.
Any other than cherries. Cherries are kind of like the black sheep. There's not as many health benefits to cherries. But
is cherry a berry?
Cherry is a berry.
Really?
It is a berry, but cherry's a berry. But cherry's a berry, but cherry is not as good of a berry as the other berries.
I didn't even know this.
Blackberries, amazing. One of the highest calorie to fiber ratio out there. Raspberries, amazing. Same thing. But I have raspberries and blueberries every day. And like 2 cups every day of each.
This episode is brought to you by Hudson Valley Teeth Whitening. Hudson Valley Teeth Whitening is an experienced teeth whitening salon where you can get up to 7 shades lighter with just a 60 or 90-minute session in a professional and relaxing setting. They offer the most superior product coupled with the highest quality of customer service available to get you instant results. Whether you have an important event to attend, such as a wedding, birthday, anniversary, interview, or you are just unhappy with the color of your teeth, this LED light technology helps whiten your teeth fast and easy. At Hudson Valley Teeth Whitening, they understand how important your smile is to you. And speaking from personal experience, you'll be guided by highly efficient staff in a relaxing environment to reach your desired shade. Let them know you're a friend of Dave's from the No Snooze podcast and connect with them at hudsonvalleyteethwhitening.com or on Instagram at HV Teeth Whitening. Now, back to the epi. All right, let's talk scaling business. All right. So it's a little shift, obviously, from the nutrition, but you've become I think everyone's goal in life is to become dominant in their space. Yeah. You have now achieved that. Whether you want to believe it or not, you've achieved that. You are dominant in the space, not only here in New York, but on a much bigger global scale, we'll even say. Seriously. And kudos to you for doing that. I know it's a lot of hard work. But in this space of wellness and nutrition, I guess, what is something tangible for people, even if they're not in the health and wellness business, where you decided, okay, now I have whatever it is to scale? How did you get from the Equinox to where you are now?
Yeah, I'll just say this, and I know this could come off the wrong way. I'm not nice. People, I always joke around. I'm just not, I'm very direct. I'm very motivating, but nobody would ever look at Jake. He's so nice. I'm just a very straightforward person. and I'm not a humble person. I'm not. There's a humility about me because I grew up with the place I grew up in my life, and the realization that it can all end in a moment, and that part of life is you could end up in a cave in India. You could end up in a pit in Africa. You could end up in in a very rough spot in Portville, New York, right? You could. So there's a humility aspect to me like that, but I am very aware of like our space and where we are and what I built. And I would tell people openly, I have the biggest personal training business on the East Coast. I have one of the biggest coaching businesses in the United States of America. And somebody even asked me the other day, do you have imposter syndrome about that? I'm like, no. I just have a very high self-esteem, right? Yep. And I didn't always. I had to build that. But I think the thing is that I just am so confident that if something doesn't work, I will be willing to change it. I will be willing to pivot. It's a cliche. A client of mine, he was one of the guest hosts on Shark Tank. His name's Matt Higgins, and he put up a post recently, and it was it's not the jockey, or it's not the horse, it's the jockey. It's the jockey, because the jockey will reiterate. And that's all I've done. I've just learned from all my mistakes. I'm not perfect. And when I say I'm not humble or those things, you could say, oh, but I'm being honest with you. Like, I don't think my quality is being nice or being particularly humble, but my quality is that I definitely know that if something's not working, change it. And I definitely learn from every mistake that I make, and I get better and better from it. And I'm not afraid to fail, and I'm not afraid to go back at it again. So first time I moved to New York, I failed. And when I first tried growing a business, I failed multiple times. I got fired from so many jobs. It was just horrible at them. And I learned from it, and I grew. And I think that's the most important thing when it comes to scaling is throw some spaghetti against the wall. If it doesn't stick, cook it longer, and then throw it against the wall again. And that's what I've really done. Like when I did personal training, I started there. And then as it grew, I had this idea to start doing semi-private, and now I do only semi-private training. And I just grew a real system for that. And then when I wanted to start doing coaching, everybody was like, coaching is very different than personal training. And I was like, all right, cool. And I definitely made some mistakes. While doing it and learning how to scale it. And now we're on this one-to-many option. We're doing this app thing, and I'm trying to build out a community and trying to figure that out. And people are like, the app space is very different than coaching. And I'm like, I'll figure it out, bud.
Don't you love those people? Though?
I know, but they don't mean even ill. They don't even mean it in a bad way. It's not even that they don't know any better. They're just kind of warning you that this is different. But if you are able to look at something and say, and the other key is, don't put yourself in a position where you'll fail. Meaning, I always kept my overhead small. I always made sure that I lived below my means. I always made sure that there was cash in the bank. And that allowed me to always be able to pivot. Meaning that if something wasn't working, I could always just be like, all right, let's try this now. And those are the important things, because people put themselves in where the margins are too small or stuff like that. When I say I'm not nice, look at people who are, there's something called OCEAN, openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, introversion, agreeableness, non-agreeableness, and narcissism. And this is a personality trait. People who are unagreeable make more money than people who are agreeable. It's just a fact. So I'm very tough on my negotiations. I make sure that I told you the story upstairs. When I left Equinox, I went to a studio in Larchmont. That studio in Larchmont was trying to take 20% of my PT business after I had grown it. And now they were making almost as much as from me as they were from the rest of their business. Yeah, bro. And I went to them, and I was so nice. And even though I'm not nice, but I was so kind. This is what I was. I was kind. Took him to lunch, talked to him, and he was like, oh, well, I cultivated you. He said that to me. And he goes, I cultivated you, and I'm going to build my personal brand this next year, which I wish them all the best. So I hope you do. But when you say that to me, like, dude,
you're out of here.
Out of here. And I say that more to say for that story is that because I didn't want my overhead to be high. It wasn't anything personal about him. I didn't need to give away 20% when I knew I could give away 10%. And that's what ended up happening now. Now I give away 10%. I'm in even a nicer studio. And so I just say, keep your overheads small. Everybody thinks brick and mortar. Oh, I'm going to open a gym. Oh, I'm going to open this. Listen, maybe you can, But I can tell you that if you can get on the digital space and you can grow an Instagram following and you can grow a platform, that costs me nothing. And then I'll tell you back to that story where I lost Instagram for a couple of weeks. You better not just be relying on Instagram. I have an email list of over 13,000. I have YouTube that's in the top
huge.
5% of YouTube. You know, like you want to grow as have as many options as possible. So that's the biggest thing. Just be willing to pivot, dude. Be willing to pivot. If you want to scale, be willing to change. Try things. Don't be afraid to try, and don't be afraid to change if it's not working.
If you could only be remembered for two things,
yep,
what would they be?
Getting people to lose weight. That is my life's work. Getting people to lose weight. It's my life's work. It's not only just my business. It's been my major contribution to the world. I help hundreds of people every year lose weight. I help people change their lives. You know, I was always in shape, and I tell people all the time, by me being in shape, it helped me change my social economic status. I was helping wealthy people get in better shape, and at the same time, they were making me financially comfortable. We kind of like just role reversed, where now they're in shape and they have money, and now I went from being in shape and being poor to being in shape and having money. And my major contribution in life has been to get people in shape.
Why do you get so emotional about it?
I think because I don't think anybody thought I would be here. I don't think anybody thought that you know, this kid who had ADD would, you know, be running a major business that's helping. You know, the CEO of AIG was a client. The CFO of BlackRock's been a client. You know, I have billionaires who have been clients. So, and you know, and then even still, I've had people who are dog walkers who are clients. I mean, there are people who can't afford me, and watch me on Instagram and send me messages that, dude, I've been following you and I lost all this weight. So, you know, it's very powerful to say, like, you know, I made a major impact on the world, and, you know, hundreds of people, thousands of people follow me, and that I've had a positive impact on not only their life, but I've also changed my life by helping so many people.
Listen, man, that's beautiful, and I just want to tell you, you know, I'm very grateful for you coming on.
Thank you, dude.
And obviously sharing, you know, the emotion and the passion.
Thank you.
Behind what you do.
Thank you.
I think really separates you, because now there's so many people who I speak to who have these huge followings and they blow up, and that's great, that's awesome. But I think they lose this.
Yeah,
this is really, really unique.
That's why when I say that I'm not humble, I definitely think highly of myself, but maybe there's a humility behind me. I guess maybe it's the wrong way of expressing it.
Yeah.
The other thing I would want to be known for is I just want to be known. We're going through IVF and all that stuff now, and I think it's very important for me. I know it sounds funny, but like my dog and my family, I think that is a part where anybody, regardless if they have a following or they make money or not, you know, just remember that those people in your life, how incredibly important they are, and that is an opportunity for you to make an impact, you know, and the biggest impact will probably be there. So definitely that's the other thing, is I want people to be able to say to me, like, you know, even when I got back together with my girlfriend, she said, you know, I know what it's like to be loved by you. And so have people in your close space, I want them to all be able to say, you know, Jake was an asshole, but he was our asshole. You know,
I love that. Oh man, I love that. You're a good dude, man.
Thank you, bro.
Seriously, and I mean that. You know, this is the first conversation that we've had, but there's a synergy here that I think is undeniable.
Thank you. It was really a pleasure to be on, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
And congratulations on all the success, 185, and continue to grow it.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate that. Where can everybody find you?
The best place to look for me is go to my Instagram, Jacob Zemer. You could also follow me on YouTube, Jacob Zemer, JACOBZEMER. That's the best place, because then you get a tone of voice. You can go to my website, jacobzemer.com. But I tell people, follow me on Instagram first. See if this is a right fit for you. See if you agree with the personality and things like that. Because again, even though I'm such a quantitative guy, it's so much down to relationship. That's the most important thing when it comes to losing weight, is having a bond with somebody, and somebody that's going to power through and help you to get there. So I would say follow me there and see if you like what you're seeing. And then from there, you can always hit the link tree and go to jacobzemer.com.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. And again, before I even reached out to you, you know, I was following your stuff.
Thank you, dude.
And it's whether you're at level 1 or you're at level 7 or 10, it doesn't matter. right? We're all trying to improve. And I could just say I've learned a lot from your stuff. You really simplify everything, which is something that I genuinely, just for myself, I appreciate, because, you know, it's you don't have so much, you only have so much time in a day, you know, so you have to be strategic on Instagram. So if you're not following Jacob, I highly, highly encourage you to not only follow him, but start to engage with him. And again, man, thank you very much for coming on. Seriously.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Guys, as always, you can shop the latest merch at nosnoozeshop.com. And we're very grateful and thankful for you guys, the listeners. If you found any value today, if we made you laugh, if we made you cry, if you heard a great tip from Jacob or myself, please just share the show. It means a lot to us. You can tag us on Instagram, follow the YouTube page. And as always, until next time, stop snoozing.
Get up and get after it.
Man, that was powerful stuff.
Thank you, dude.
Powerful. Beast.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for tuning in. That's another epi in the books. You can follow us on Instagram at No Snooze Podcast and leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, No Snooze. Shop the latest merch at nosnoozeshop.com. Come on.